Brilliant. Can you please confirm that you can hear me okay? Type a yes or unmute and say yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. So welcome to all of you. Welcome to this business analysis and project management taster session. We are hoping to cover all of this in 2 hours. Now, prior to today, we used to do the taster session for about 90 minutes, but most times we just overrun, maybe because people have questions, or the fact that we just like to give as much as we can, and we just end up going over 90 minutes. And so I've decided I will offer a full 2 hours today. I'm hoping that we can, squeeze it all in, it being a taste test session. So you're very welcome to this session. What's the agenda? Introduction by myself. I will do that shortly. And then introduction to project management is where we start off with Lydie. Lydie is also going to introduce herself. Normally we have live testimonials, but I think that also eats into our time. And so rather than having people come on, because sometimes we say speak for 1 minute and some people go for two or so minutes. So we won't be having any live testimonials, but we have testimonials on the page, which I will just run through quickly, just for us to save time. And then go straight into, maybe we'll have like a comfort break, quick coffee, 5 minutes. And then we go straight into becoming a business analyst by myself, which I will cover. And then we round up with behind the scenes of, one of our projects, so you can actually see everything that we've talked about. So we will be talking about these two areas from an initial theoretical angle. So you have that knowledge over, of course, high level, where we can cover everything in 2 hours, but it gives you a sense of the subject matter that we're covering. But then towards the end, we will now say, okay, what does it really, how do you translate this into real life? On a project, how does a project manager function within, an actual project, or how does a business analyst function within, a project team? And so we would walk you through quickly, as quickly as we can, showing one or two of our tools that we use, because it's also very essential that you're familiar with the tools of the trade, if you like. And so hopefully we can do a bit of that. And then we go into our value proposition, because at the end of the day, we have something to offer. I'll just tell you that, okay, if you want to take this further, these are the options available. And that's the agenda for today. Q&A, will come later. It's just not on here, but it's something that we'll cover. But make sure that you please put all your questions in the chat for today. Right, so I'm your host. I am Veronica Modupe Yusuf. I'm originally Nigerian, but I've lived in the UK 20 years now. Wow, time does fly, doesn't it? So I came into the UK from Africa, from Nigeria, to do a master's in strategic human resource management at the University of South Wales. It used to be called Glamorgan now, but it's now the University of South Wales, for those of you who are in that uni. I have over 10 years experience in the IT space. Now, of course, I've not always been into IT. I had to do a lot of, I'd done a lot of things. So when coming from Africa into the UK, I finished my master's, and then I started a family. I wanted to get into HR, but it was absolutely difficult to get into the system, purely because I didn't have that UK experience. I didn't know about UK employment law and all these other things that they would, require to give you a foot in the door. And I didn't know how to navigate. I know there was nobody to help. So it was really a struggle. And so I did customer service, I did teaching assistant, just to build that UK experience over time, until the person that's actually my co-host today was, I think, the person I was talking to. And she says, oh, well, this is how she was able to navigate. Have you considered a career change into IT? And I thought, no, I'm not technical. I don't want to learn programming. I don't want to learn how to write code. But I then went into research, and I found out that tech is actually quite broad. It's not about programming. So a lot of times people hear tech and you're like, you just have your defenses up, because you're like, I don't want to learn. I'm not a geek and all of that. But I'm here to tell you that you don't need to learn. I don't know. I know I can recognize code because I've been in the industry, but I do not need to write a line of code as a business analyst. And there are various other areas within tech that you can actually get into without coding or knowledge of coding. And that's kind of how my story was. And And of course, after, it wasn't a walk in the park, I must tell you. It required a lot of resilience, hard work, and I did a lot of, professional certifications just to build my knowledge about business analysis. And then I landed my first BA contract role, paying, I think, 400 or so a day, from earning £7.50 as a teaching assistant. So that was a huge leap for me. And then I started telling people about it and even helping people for free, like, well, this is what I did. How can you leverage your experience and all of that? So I would say the rest, like they say, is history. And then I think a few years ago, now that is old because it's over 5 years, maybe 8 years now, I was able to do a pivot still in the tech industry, by the way, but I was now, sort of focused on data privacy and compliance. And that's kind of what I had been doing for a long time across different tech companies. So, of course, like I said, I struggled a lot being an immigrant coming into the UK. I had two BScs, and then I did a master's, but then that did not translate to what I was hoping. So just to say that in the West, it's slightly different from how it is back home. And that's something I kind of, try to teach people, to say it's about your experience. How can you package that experience? How can you leverage your transferable skills? It's about what can you do the job? It's not about the number of certificates and qualifications that you have. So that's my story. And I'm here today, to kind of help you get a good high level understanding of these two areas and how you can, hopefully make that transition. So yeah, that's me. Welcome. So I'm going to hand over to my co-host, who you can see a beautiful face on there, to introduce herself, and then we go straight into the real meat for the day. So welcome again, and thank you. Over to you, Lina.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. So just showing my face briefly, and then I'll turn off the video. Okay, so I'm Olaide George. I'm a project management consultant. I've been doing this for um, close to 13 years now. Just like Dupe, initially when I came in, before I came to the UK, I worked as a lawyer. I was a qualified lawyer. I got an LLM in law, and then when I came to join my husband, there were limited options for me. One was to do a conversion so I can be able to practice here. But then I wasn't ready to go and start, afresh really. And then a friend of mine who then was also a lawyer, she just told me that she's been working as a business analyst, that she's never worked as a lawyer in the UK, that she did some training and all that, and that if I'm interested, and that the money is really good. I was like, why not? So and just to cut the long story short, I did some training. I did some training with some people. Then we don't have platforms like this, so everything was just by the book, no hands-on. Everything was just by the book. There was no platform where you can work, and get to have some experience and everything. So I did a lot of reading here and there, go on website, reading about project management. And then I did Prince 2 exam. I was really lucky to pass. I did ITIL and some other exams as well. And I put together my CV, and they went for several interviews. It's something that you've never done before, and that for you to be able to to defend what you got on your CV was really tricky. All I knew then was just being a lawyer, but then I was able to leverage that at some point, and I was lucky to get my first role as a junior PMO, and then I've never looked back. And right now I'm working with one of the financial regulators in the UK. We control the conduct of financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, and everything. So, so that's just me. And I've been lucky to work in various sectors as well. I've worked in aerospace sectors, finance, pharmaceutical, government departments as a contractor. I've mainly been contracting, and it's been all good. You get to learn, because when you work for various organizations, you get to pick up new things, new skills as well. So that's me in short. So do you want us to go straight to
Uh,
introduction to development, or do you want to do
Yeah, let me just talk quickly a little bit about Sterling, even though this is, we're now, yeah, and then we'll go into project management. So Sterling careers, I will talk more towards the end. We are now called Sterling Tech Solutions, by the way. We used to be called Sterling Careers. So you still see a few things out there called, with Sterling Careers. We're still rebranding. We are based, we are an established education provider in the UK. We are endorsed by the CPD, and also our business analysis is endorsed by the IIBA. So that's the International Institute of Business Analysis. So yeah, and we have those endorsements because our processes have been assessed and reviewed by these bodies, and we've been able to get this endorsement, which is something that we are very proud of. So we used to have in-person sessions previously, of course, prior to COVID. So these sort of sessions that we're having now would have been in person. Some people have attended. We've had London, Birmingham, Coventry. We've had a few cities that we've done. But of course, COVID happened, and since then we've been virtual or remote because most tech companies and most organizations these days are remote. So we've done everything remotely. And we have a team, so Lide, myself, and a few others that support the program when you eventually join the full program. And our area of focus is business analysis, project management, data privacy. We are launching our data analysis course in July. So we have another taster session in June. That will be run by a professor in the University of Sheffield. She's a big data professor, amazing. And so she's going to be partnering with us for that one, and we're excited about that. So part of what we do is we take you through the theory classes where you get an understanding of what project management is, what business analysis is, the body of knowledge that you require, that the industry requires that you have. So we take you through that. But what the thing that we are very passionate about, our unique selling point is really giving you an opportunity to gain hands-on experience, because like Lide said, when we started in those days, there wasn't a lot. I remember the very first interview I had after I had a crash training course. In fact, it was, I think, a weekend like this, business analysis course. And I went to somebody's house and he crashed everything into my head in a matter of hours. And he said, start preparing your CV and start applying. I was like, goodness, how? From somebody who had no clue before, there was just no way for me to get onto a platform that would give me an opportunity to start picking up experience and working on real life projects so that it'll build my confidence. And so I did struggle. My very first interviews, I was so scared because I just wasn't prepared. I didn't feel confident enough. Which was one of the reasons why we built Sterling in the way that we have built it, so that people are able to actually put to practice all that we teach them in class. And it's not just case study, it is actually real life projects that you see come to life, and that builds your confidence when you're attending interviews, and then you're able to even do the job. And so that is our USP. That's our really area, is you learn by doing. So we give you opportunity to work on a real life project, and you pick up the project management or the business analysis or the data privacy skill that is required and the experience. And then we also give you a reference when you get a job to say, it's like you have interned with us, and we give reference for that. I love people who have gotten jobs through us like that. We don't place you on jobs. We just help you to gain the experience. And then when you get a job, we will give you the reference for the duration that you have worked with us. So the way that our courses or our programs run now, because we normally say, don't quit your day job until you have gotten that transition. You've gotten this new role. So what we tend to do is let people go for their 9 to 5s during the day. I'd still do a 9 to 5. But then in the evenings, from between 7 to 9, is when the project teams start collaborating. And then Saturdays is when we have the theory classes. Now, we say give a maximum of 3 days a week for the project activities, especially if you're thinking of, okay, how do I fit this into my current situation or schedule? Sometimes we also have flexibility because we have a lot of people who are carers or who do night shift work. So if you let us know what your particular situation is, we can then work around you, maybe put you in a group of people that have similar situation. And so that means you probably will do your project activities during the day if you got night shift. So we are flexible in a nutshell. And that's pretty much how the program runs. We'll go straight into more stuff at the end. So we've got Lydie, myself, Kush also does project management. She has over 20 years experience, and we've been doing this for a good number of years. So these are people that you will meet when you come into the team. We've had a few changes. Pankaj is no more with us because he had personal situation. I started having a family, and it was just difficult for him to, because he lives in Australia. So Pankaj is not there, so we need to update that. And we have the amazing Esther, who is operations manager, program manager. She does everything pretty much. And then we have Helen, who kind of is a BA manager. So all the business analysis bits, Helen handles. I like to leave this here because this was pre-COVID. So this is what we would have been doing if, we were still able to do in person. So that's Lydie there. Lydie, do you remember this picture? And that's Kush, and that's today. Yeah, so we had fun, having those events, and that's us. And I think I've already talked about my journey, so I won't go into that now. We'll talk about testimonials later. And then let's get into project management. So over to you, Lydie. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thanks, Tupe. So I won't waste your time. So let's just talk in straight away. So introduction to project management. So the way I approach this is we talk about what a project is. And a project, I'll just quickly read from there, it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So many organizations, in fact, in the UK and all over the world, when they want to embark on an initiative, on something, maybe they've come together and they think maybe they're not making as much money as they should, or they are losing customers, or they just want to improve the ways of working, within the organization, or they want to improve the life of their staffs and all that. They come up with kind of like an idea, which is or an initiative, and it's always temporary because it's not part of business as usual. It's just an initiative to say, okay, how can we do better? How can we ensure that our customers enjoy our services? What is it that we can do? So they come up with those ideas, different ideas on what they can do. They work, they have like a group of executives and all that coming together to look at what they can do. And in doing this, they come up with a project, because it's usually done as a project. It's always temporary. It's time box. There is a timeline for it. Okay, let's say we are going to a project for just 1 year, and within that project, we want to improve customer services. We want to improve our ways of working, our operating model. We want to be, like, for instance, with banks now, for instance, they do a lot of regulatory projects, and that's just to make them compliant with, government regulations, the financial services, and just make sure that they're compliant with regulations that have been set up by the government, set up by the Bank of England, and all that. Just giving examples. So they do this as projects, and there is and it's always unique as well, and the end is for them to be able to create a product. The product can be in form of, it can be physical, it just can be in form of, just coming up with a new operating model, that's new ways of working, new processes, new procedures and all that. It can be services, as I've said, just make sure that they're getting more clientele and all that. And the most important thing within the project is that it's temporary, it's time boxed, there is a time limit for it, and apart from that, there's a budget to it, there's a cost to it. You do not have like a blank check or anything. And you also have to think of, apart from it being time boxed, having a budget to it, and the timeline and everything, and having a budget to it, there is also the issue of quality as well, ensuring that the project is also delivered to the quality that is required. And to be able to do this, you manage the project. So going into project management, that's the process of you organizing things that needs to be done, activities that needs to be done, monitoring it, and also controlling and then implementing the changes that are required as part of the project. Because when you are embarking on the project, you want to make changes. There is an element of change. There are things that you have been doing before that you do not want to do again, or there are things that you've been doing before that you want to improve on. And project can be like IT projects. Maybe you're just rolling out a new software for your organization, rolling out a new solution, for the organization. There's so many, projects can be in different forms. It's not just, limited to a specific type of project. They are unique, they are unlimited. But the bottom line is this: it's either for the organization that is running the project to improve their ways, or even to create new products as well. It all depends. So the process of you being able to manage, so project management, you're going to project management is how a project is managed, and using different methodologies. I'm not even going to go into details on that, but then when you're managing a project, that methodologies that you can follow. There's the Prince 2, that is managing projects in controlled environment, making sure the control there is, because there is like kind of constraints to your managing the project. It's not business as usual, like we all have different careers now. And I think it was, sorry, bear with me a second. I think it was it Finty that said she's a doctor? The things that you do as a doctor on a regular basis as a BAU, it's going to be quite different from what you do within the project. So that is why that unique aspect of it is there. But then the bottom line is, you start something, you are also expecting the result. And as I said, maybe it's just to grow the organization, or just to make life easy for your staff, really. There's some, for instance, in some organization in the NHS before, in the last couple of years now, there's been so many improvements in the NHS. They have automated some of their services and all that, automated the ways they report, and so these are undertaken by projects, less manual processes as well. And pre-COVID, I remember that most of us, we go to work on a daily basis and everything and all that. But then after COVID, things changed. So there's a lot of us work virtually, we work online, most people work from home. But then there must have been things that are set up for us to be able to do that. The organization, they must have provided us with the tools that we need to be able to work from home. These are also done as projects as well. So that's just in a short in a nutshell what project and project management is. Management shortly is just the way that you manage that project, what you need to do, the things that you need to put in place. Now, in terms of a project life cycle, I said there's a start to the project, when you start the project, and then when you finish the project. The first on the life cycle is the initiate phase. That is the first phase, when we have stakeholders that come together and start looking at exactly what they need to do. They do feasibility studies, and then they come up with those ideas. That's the initiate phase. Okay, we want to roll out, let's say, let me just use an example. We want to roll out Office 365 across the organization. Or we want to roll out Windows 11. People have been using Windows 10 before and everything, but then we want to roll out, because there's a lot to consider as well. There is a cost to consider. There is a training to consider. There is, how to embed, and then there is also integration as well. You have there's a lot to consider, as I'm saying. So at that initiate phase, the group of stakeholders are interested in the project. They come together, talk about brainstorm on the ideas that they have, and start, looking at, cost as well. They pull together what we call a business case, at that point, even if just an high-level business case, and that's just looking at what it's going to cost them. That's looking at the timeline. That's looking at the impact, as well as like risk that will be involved in the project, the resource that they will need, then crucially the budget as well, and then quality of the quality of their product or the services that they are trying to improve, whatever the result is. So that's the initiate phase, really. And then From then, we move on to planning. Okay, so we've all agreed we want to embark on this project now. We have an high level view of what is going to cost us, what the timeline is going to be. We have like an outline business case. The business case is your justification for embarking on the project. It takes into consideration everything. And, I keep going back to all this. I keep going back to cost. I keep going back to the timeline. I keep going back to the quality. So these are the basic things that has to be at the back of your mind when you are putting together, when a project is being embarked on, the resource as well. So okay, so we move from the initiate, we have to go into planning. So how do we plan? What do we do? What do we start with first? At this stage, sometimes organization bring in a project manager. So the project manager will now work with them to pull together a plan of activities that needs to do. This helps to guide the project team. It helps to guide the project team in terms of the requirements that they need to. I'm using the rollout of Windows 11 I'm just going to use that as an example. The activities that they need to do, what is going to cost them, what the suppliers that they need to use, is it in-house, are they going to build, is it going to be in-house, or are they going to need suppliers and all that. So it's like, I call a plan the Bible. It's just a list of all items, all activities that you need to do during the lifetime of your project. And then from planning, and it involves your budget, and for all activities, there is a cost, there is a time. You're going to start, with the project. These are the things that you need to do at the start of the project. There is a timeline for it. And then once the plan has been approved, it has to be approved by stakeholders that are interested in the project on the first place, that had that idea in the first place. And then you move on to execution. At that point, that's when we're talking about, when you're talking about the design. At that point, the design of, so the design mainly is when, I'm just looking at the best way to put it. So we have a plan in place, and then how do we design how we are going to implement the in the project. What are the things that we need to do? What is the solution as well? You look at the solutions that has to be solutions that we need to correct the issues that we have, or which is to correct the issues that we have. So that is done, and then we move on to, so as part of execution, sometimes, it's all, for me, it's all semantic, because sometimes some projects, they just jumble the whole thing together. Once you move from planning and you go into execution, you do your design in there, and at the same time, then you start looking at delivery. And when you are delivering the project, it has to be monitored. You want to ensure that your project manager, as a project manager, you want to ensure that your project team, they are on board with you. That's when, the control comes in. You have like business analysts working on your project. You want to look at what their deliverables are. You work together in terms of agreeing what their deliverables are, ensuring those deliverables are delivered to time, and then you have suppliers as well. You want to ensure that they're also in control, because as project managers or as project professionals, you have to have some level of control over your project, and that is because of the constraints that you are working within. You are working within the constraints of your budget. You are working within the constraints of the timeline. You are working within the constraints of resources as well. So that is, in a nutshell, that is a project life cycle in a nutshell. So any questions on this? If no question, we move to the next. So stakeholder management, I've said this, and so for every project, we have people that will be impacted, irrespective of what or who you are in the organization. You can have top executives impacted. You can have drivers impacted. You can have the most low level, staff impacted. So your stakeholder are people that will be impacted or affected by the delivery of the project, and you want to ensure that you have them. You want to ensure that you manage them in such a way that you get their buy-in. Most times, organizations they recruit project managers from outside as contractors, as contractors. So this sometimes can cause friction. So you want to be able to identify who your stakeholders are, those that will be affected. It can be people on the shop floor, it can be top executives, it can be anybody, anyone within the organization, that would be affected by the outcome of your project are your stakeholders. Then apart from that, you also have people on the team as well that will be working with you. We call them the subject matter experts. These are people that have been working in the organization for a long time. They know more about the processes, they know the procedures, they know the organization in and out. And then you are coming in, for instance, new now, you would probably need those SMEs to come in. They are the ones that will guide you in terms of this is how you'll be doing it. And then you bring in your BA, or like, okay, work with the SMEs as well to look at ways that they're going to improve processes depending on what the project is all about. So stakeholder management is very key. You want to make sure that you get the buy-in. You want to make sure that you keep them satisfied. You want to keep them informed. You want to be able to monitor them because they can make or break your project. So the first thing about that is identifying your stakeholders, all your stakeholders, understanding who they are, and then ensuring that you have the right access to them. In some cases, it's just a matter of maybe sending emails to them. Some cases you have to set up, meetings regularly, to check in with them, ensure that they are happy with what you are doing as well. And you have to have like a stakeholder plan. The plan is a list of like virtually all your stakeholders and who they are, their roles within the organization, so that you know exactly what you know exactly what you are up against. And then you have to also work with your team to determine how best to keep them informed, to carry them along as well, to also buy in. Sometimes you walk into meetings and you already have issues with stakeholders. They can oppose any solution that you are bringing on the table. So you have to learn how to be able to keep them keep them happy. Some have low interest, they're not really interested. So just dropping them emails just so that they can know what you are doing or what you are up to in terms of updates is fine. So it's really key in project management. Ensure that you engage with them, be as confident as possible to engage with people, so, and that's really very important as well. Any question on stakeholder management? If no question, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this slide is kind of like a just an high level summary of what to expect within managing projects. We look at project reporting, deliverables and documents. We look at types of progress tracker and reports, and then the basic content. And that's really key. For any project that you're working on, you must be able to feed back to your stakeholders. As I said earlier, you must be able to keep them informed. And in most cases, they are the ones that make decisions. Yours is to ensure the project is delivered and all that, but then you have to get the buy-in. Sometimes you can have issues with budget. You want to go back to them and to ask for more money. You understand? But then if you do not keep them informed to let them know, okay, this is where we are, this is the status and all that, you might not be able to get what you want from them. So it's very important. Project reporting is very, very important. It's part of your ways of monitoring the project and also controlling the project, ensuring that the project is being tracked. So that's very, very important. It's your artifact. You must have project status reports. And like it can be weekly, it can be monthly. It all depends on how complex the project is or how large the project is. It all depends, but it's very important because it's your tool for communicating to everybody, to all your key stakeholders, your steering committee, people that makes decisions, keeping them informed, to ensure that they know exactly what's happening on the project. The frequency depends on the project, as I've already said, and it's very important as well and it also depends on the terms of reference. That's the TOR there. There is a terms that's been agreed with your key stakeholders. Every month, at the end of every month, you're going to be having a meeting. Provide us with the status of the project, which contains, where you are with the project in terms of cost, where you are in terms of what has been delivered so far, where you are in terms of your timeline, in terms of risk issues, things like that. They're all contained in your project reports. And there are different tools, for reporting. You can report in Excel. It all depends on the organization. It depends on the tools that they provide for you. You can report in Microsoft Words. You can report in different tools, Primavera, Cognos. These are just project management tools. It all depends on the organization. Some organizations, they just love PowerPoint, just put everything there on the PowerPoint, such as we are using right now. And as I said, it's used to track the progress of the project. Just a few lists of reports here. We have the daily actions log. In project management, it's very important that the project keeps an actions log. For different meetings that you go to, you want to capture actions, and that is logged. And once it's logged, you capture the actions against the action owner who is going to do the activities, that is the action and all that. And then you're able to, chase them, ensure that the action has been completed. You have the RAID log. The RAID log is your risk, how there is a risk. You have your assumptions, you have your issues, and you have your dependency. And this is really key. There is no project, all projects must keep a RAID log of what your risks are. Sometimes at the start of the project, you can come together with it as a team, and even with the SMEs, to identify what kind of risk you envisage on the project. What are the things that you think can happen that can impact the project? You want to list that. The issues are things that has already happened that is impacting the project. Sometimes your risk can end up becoming an issue. So you keep a log of it. You ensure that there are owners that are going to manage or mitigate those risks, and that's very key. So we keep the RAID log. We have the checkpoint or stage gate report or checklist. Now, just a brief one. So the checkpoint is, at the start of this, I said the project has a life cycle. You have from your initiate phase. From initiate, you can go from initiate to the design to the define. When you now define the project and all that, you go into the design, your implementation phase, and then your delivery. The implementation phase is also the delivery and the project closure. Now, for each project phase, there's what we call checkpoints or stage gates. You cannot move, and it depends on the methodology. So if you are using like waterfall now, you can't move from one. Waterfall is like, it's waterfall. Let me just put it that way. You can't move from one phase or a stage of the project without you passing that checkpoint. So for every phase, there is a control. You have to go to, maybe you have to go back to your project control board. So they look at everything that you have done as part of what you have delivered so far. The content, the things that you need to deliver as part of initiate. So some of the things, as an example, the project initiation document, you have to create that document signed off. In some cases, you have your outline business case, which is a document that justifies, it contains, your justification for the project, why we need to do that project, what will happen if we don't do the project, the high level costs and all that. So those are some of the documents you complete as part of your initiation phase. And once those are completed and signed off, and the project control board, they're happy with that, they sign you off to go to the next phase. And then you keep going that way. There are documents that you complete as part of each of the phases and everything. So you have like a checklist, and that checklist, they tick, it's like a tick box of what you have completed, what your deliverables, what has been agreed as part of your plan to be completed. So that's very key. So most organizations using waterfall methodology, they have like a checkpoint list or a checkpoint checklist as well. This is just part of monitoring and controlling the project, ensuring that you are on track and that you are delivering to the timeline that you have been given, you are delivering to the budget, and then the quality as well. But that doesn't mean that in some cases you won't have issues with being out of time, or being out of the scope of the project that's been agreed, or being out of budget. We'll get into that separately. But then the key is that you're trying everything you can to ensure that you are working within those constraints. And then we have, the daily, weekly, monthly status report. There is just updates on the projects. That's really key. Then the stakeholder pack, that's really key. The stakeholder pack is for your steering committee. The steering committee, the group of stakeholders that make decisions on the project. But then you want to make sure that they make informed decisions. By informed decisions, that means you are providing them with the actual and accurate status report, accurate status of your project. You are letting them know that I'm having issues with this project, or you are letting them know that there are risks here. You are letting them know exactly where you are. Not that you are, you paint the correct picture for them. They have the right management information for them to make informed decisions, because you can't just, like, for instance, now we have what we call the RAG status. The RAG status is the red, is like the amber, the traffic light, the red, amber, and green. When your project is red, when your project is red, that means you are having issues. You have to you have to complain. You do not have to paint an incorrect picture for them. So it's just to help them to be able to make decisions on the project, whether to continue with the project, whether to release more money, exactly what help that you need. So your steering committee, your stakeholder pack is very, very important. The project is amber. That means you have some issues, but then they're still within hand. You have mitigations in place. You can control. You are okay. You are just keeping them informed, but you can manage that yourself. And when your project is green, that means everything is groovy. You are fine. You do not need their help with anything, but then you're still keeping them informed. So this is really important. Highlight report is just similar to your weekly status report, and and all that. And then lessons learned. So for all projects, you keep a lessons learned log. And the reason why we keep lessons learned log is that you have projects that have been embarked on by organizations before. Things that they learned as part of that project, what worked well for them, what did not work well for them, they log that. So you can go back to that if you are now embarking on a new project to look at, okay, there's a similar project that was completed a few years ago. Let's look at the lessons learned log. Let us see what we can learn from that, so that we don't make similar mistakes. So it's very important. For me, I keep a log from the start of the project, because sometimes it can be difficult for you to now put together a log when you are completing the project. So you have a log, so that everything you start documenting everything on your log and all that. Different meetings, there is a steering committee meeting, there is the risk reviews. That is when you review the rate log, and that's done. It can be monthly. It depends on the complexity of the project, or how large the project is and everything. So that is when the risks are reviewed, ensuring that you are still on track, and then ensuring that they're being mitigated, so they don't become issues for you. The project control board is this PCB. So they are the ones that sit on your state gates, or your change, if you have or if you have any change application that you want to make changes to. For instance, now, if your budget has been agreed already, that's been signed off, and then towards as you're working on the project and everything, you realize that you would need more money. You need to, that has to be released with you in a controlled way, and that's when you go to the project control board. Okay, I need some more funds for this project, and then you have to justify it. You have to provide them with the risk impact assessment is done. Why do you need the money? Why do you need, or you need more time as well? So you can go to the project control board for different things apart from just the checkpoints as well. And any change application you take to them, but then you have to be able to justify that change, why you need it, because they can either approve the change or tell you to go back, or disapprove it. It all depends. The project board, they're also similar to the steering committee, but then the thing with the steering committee is that they are slightly higher, because they make decisions and all that. The project board can also have some level of tolerance in terms of decision making. But then in some cases, some companies don't bother with stakeholders. It's just the project board that they have. Like currently where I work now is the project board or the program board. So we don't really have stakeholders. So it depends on the organization, but then they have similar powers as well. So I won't go into basic content. So for the content of all these reports and all that, you have the RAG status. As I said, the RAG is the traffic light. You're red, amber, and green. You're red, that means you're having serious issues, you need help. And so you provide the rationale for being red, you're amber, you're green, you provide that. KPIs are your key performance indicators. The way you are, this highlights or let me just say, they drive the RAG status as well. The way you're performing, it just highlights what those key performance your indicate. It's just an highlight of how you're performing in terms of budget wise and things like that. Then the milestones are very important. These milestones are contained. Your plan must contain your milestones. So you have a detailed plan. The milestones are key activities that needs to be completed, that you need to complete as part of the project delivery, as part of they are kind of as part of project deliverables. They are very important. They help you to move from, like, for instance, from one phase to the other. And that it's the examples are on, they are unlimited, but then they are kind of like, how do I put it? Like they can have impact on your project delivery, especially milestones that trying to just remember what we call that. There are some key milestones that you just need to ensure that they are completed. So these key milestones forms part of they are in your plan, and then bring in the key ones, the important ones. You report them in your project status report or your stakeholder pack or whatever it is. And what you have done against the plan, activity achievement against plan. So that's very important. They want to see, for instance, we have a bi-weekly report that we do in my organization, and every 2 weeks we want to see what you have achieved that is against your plan. So in your plan, you've listed the list of activities that you want to do. You've listed that. What have you done? On those lists of which of the activities have you done on that? So for instance, in your plan that you have a 2 weeks plan, for instance, or you have a 1 year plan, but every 2 weeks, those activities that forms part of that bi-weekly the activities that you have done that have been completed, those are your key achievements, and so you want to report that against the plan. That in the plan we said we are going to do A, B, C, and D, and then we have done A, B, C, and the reason why we've not done D, that has to be reported as very well. Those are the activities behind schedule, and you have to provide the reason why. You have, and then you also let them know what you are doing in the next couple of weeks, next 2 weeks, next 1 week, whatever. And then you have to have like a brief high-level view of your spend. You have a budget, you have £1,000, you spend we spend £300 out of that £1,000, and we spend them on this, on that, and all that. We're still on track for costs. We are okay for costs. We are not going over our budget. Your risk and issues, escalations, things that you need help with must be contained in your project. It's just like you are doing head report. For me, for instance, as a lawyer, I remember I used to put together reports and all that with my colleagues and everything. And I'm sure for most of you on this call as well, you must have done one form of report. And those reports will contain the key things that you want your stakeholders to know, in terms of what you are working on. So it's just like that in project management as well. Is there any question on that before I move on?
I was gonna, maybe ask that those on the call, maybe let's have a minute or two conversation. Just one. The first question is, all that Lydie has been talking about, is there anyone who is doing any of these things or has done any of these things before, whether it's report writing, whether it's any of these specific tools or activities? Anybody who is familiar, and I'll tell you why I'm asking. Please unmute yourself if it's something that you are, even though you are not called a project manager, but it is something that you do. Is there anyone?
Hi, I'm currently a project coordinator.
Okay.
So I'm in the housing sector.
Right.
So I do support project managers. So I'm quite familiar with some of the things and the terminologies that you said.
Okay.
My question was, are there any aspects in project management where you can just do the initiation stage and not actually be the person responsible for seeing the project through?
That's an interesting one. Lide,
Yeah.
over to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a tricky one, really. It all depends. You can work together and pull together the idea. You initiate, and then they decide to bring in someone else.
Yeah.
To deliver the project. So that is
Possible. Yeah.
at least I think I've seen that before, really. And in some cases, you are not even part of the initiate phase. They've done that before, and then they bring you in
Bring you
to
in
come and
later.
deliver the project. So it's a yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe like they might bring you in at the delivery, or execute stage. So they would have done all the initiation and all the other bits,
Yes,
and
yes,
then bring
yes,
in
yes, yes,
contractors or so. Just
yes.
sometimes you might be involved, from beginning to end, and sometimes you might just be brought in midway or even towards the end.
Mhm.
So it
Towards the end as well, even to come and close the project. I've
yes,
had situations where projects, the thing with projects is that you have had situations where uh, you have complications during project closures as well. And they bring in people to come and close the project because they need to close it. It's not something that is for life. It has to be closed, the cost, the budget has to be closed down. So it all depends. It doesn't matter. You can come into a project at any point in time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I just ask why you asked that, just out of interest?
Yeah, I asked because I'm interested in project management, but I'm not actually interested in seeing the project through. I would more likely do the initiation and the planning phase and then hand it over to the project manager. So I wanted to know, like, because I work in housing, we've got like a pre-construction team. So they go out, they source the land, they negotiate contracts,
Mhm.
and then hand it to the project team. So I just wanted to know if tech, they had any similarities with, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the unfortunate or the tricky bit is that you really cannot pick and choose. So yeah, so
Exactly.
yeah. So there might be scenarios where, or you see a job and they're like, oh, we want a project manager maybe to come in at this stage. That project. In fact, I've had a situation where the project maybe has been ongoing for a year. And they might maybe it's a phased rollout or a release, and they're like phase one, they have done this for a year, so they're moving on to phase two, and they want you to come on as a PM for that and stuff like that. So there are scenarios like that. But the point is that you may not have that luxury of saying that, oh, okay, I only want to do the initiation stage and then hand it off. And then again, it also depends on the organization. So sometimes I think some organizations might be set up that way, so you might be the project manager who is working through initiation and maybe the next stage, and then they might now have like SMEs who will now
Yeah.
be, yes,
Mhm.
delivery leads, and so that there are different scenarios, so it just really depends, but it is definitely possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can just add to that,
Yeah.
so you can be part of a project. Well, you can be part of a project and not necessarily be the one that will be accountable for delivering the project. So that is when we have the project support roles coming in.
Mhm.
Where you are not accountable. Of course, you're part of the project team. You're doing different things. Not just admin and all that, but then you have the project manager who is, whose head is on the line to deliver the project. Yours is to support the project manager. So it all depends. There's so many ways that you can work on the project if you don't want to be accountable for delivering the project. So
Okay,
many roles.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Because conscious of time, that's a good
Yeah.
one. If we don't have any other question, just do the next slide.
Okay, thank you. So the last slide on this. So this is project deliverables and documents. Projects can, the deliverables is the end game. It's kind of like, the output, let me put it that way, the output of your project, what you've been working on for the past year or whatever it is. These are your deliverables. And it all depends. It depends on what exactly the project that you're working on. It can be tangible things that you can see, or it can be intangible. It can just be, it all depends. And it can even be like services, just but the key is the output of that project, what your result is, what's your so those are the project deliverables. And it can be in form of, just documents. Like, for instance, now I do a lot of policy projects, so it's not as if they are not really tangible, but then those policies have to go out against financial institutions. They have to go out, and we have and the policies have to go out, and then we have regulatory projects too as well that has to go out to financial institutions that they have to comply with. So those are not physical, but then the thing is that, okay, we are putting together this policy, you have to comply with this. These are the things that we need you to do to protect consumers and against harm and all that. So it all depends. And as I said, it can also be, you just want to you want to change your manual ways of working, you want to automate ways of working and things like that, just to improve. So those are part of your deliverables, and just as it can be tangible or intangible. It can be, so as examples that we put in here, it can be like how to document reports, your processes, procedures, and all that. It can be, business transformation and improvement projects, So, and it is the hand leg. There's what we call the statement of work. The statement of work will contain exactly what you want to deliver as part of the project. It contains the project scope. Something I didn't really mention very well is the project scope. And this is very key. It's part of your constraints that you are working on. Apart from your budget, apart from your timeline, the scope as well. You have been given the scope. And that's simply, what that means is that this is what we want you to deliver for us. That is all we want you to do. We want you to deliver Office 365. We want you to improve the ways of working, for us. We want you to turn this department, all the departmental procedures and all that. We want people to stop working manually or booking in. We don't want people to just be working in, to book, whatever. And it all depends. We want all our processes to be automated, without any manual, no manual process. So it depends on what's contained in the statement of work that is agreed. And your project scope is very important. So that means you have to work within that scope. If, for instance, now you have issues and you have to go out of that scope, it has to be agreed. You have to go back to your project control board that, okay, we've been told this is what we agreed in the first place in our business case that we are going to deliver. But then for certain reasons and all that, we have to go out of that scope. We have to, we have to do more. So it all depends. And it's very important that you have a list of deliverables as well. There is what we call, at some places are what we call them work product log. It's just the product, those things that you are delivering. It's just that list. And it helps you to also be on track of, okay, I've done this, what have you done? You can tick box, it helps you to be on track during your checkpoints. Examples of those documents, you have the standard operating procedure. We also call it target operating procedure, TOR. That is what your project, sometimes project, that is all you want to do, just want to change those procedures and then document it. And then you also get, of course, you get people to start working, you train them to ensure that they are working to the new target operating model or, to the new standard operating procedure. So that's a deliverable. Maybe dashboards, different organizations have dashboards just for you to just say snapshot of, of the things that you are doing. So it all depends. They can be like automation. You changing from manual process to automated process. Your deliverable can be you have your project initiation document as well. That forms part of your deliverable at your initiation phase. Your business case as well, which is justification for the project. Your project charter, it can be called charter, it can be mandate, it can be brief. Depends on what the organization calls it, and that's just giving you a brief of exactly this is what we want to do. So I won't go through all this list, but it all depends. But it depends on the project that you are working on. That will determine what your deliverables or your output will be. It will determine what your end game will be in the project. And this is just there's a lot to project management, but this is just like a brief high-level view of what to expect in 4 slides.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say that in case a few people it'll be good to hear what everybody else thinks. At least please also indicate in the chat, those of you who are interested in project management, just let's have an idea I think one or two have. So if you have listened and you're like, okay, this is something I'm interested in. What I wanted to quickly chip in here, right, is that people initially, when they see that, wow, project management entails quite a bit. Like for example, lots of reports that Lide has covered, lots of outputs and deliverables. I wanted to just caveat this, that it is not in all cases that you would be expected to deliver on all of this. So these are just more from a knowledge perspective. So you are aware because some of them there are some organizations that probably will not need standard operating procedures. And I think it also, like Laide said, depends on the project, what you're delivering. So don't be scared and nervous and saying, oh goodness, does that mean I'm going to have to start doing dashboards, automation, operating models and all of that? No, this is more from a knowledge perspective. And so sometimes you find yourself needing or being expected to deliver on some of his reporting, and in some instances you may not, so it just depends on a couple of things. Now, the project or even the organization and their PMO, what is their exactly their standard and structure and things like that and procedure. But we want you to be aware of what's out there in terms of the industry terminologies and deliverables and documents. So don't be scared that, if I start a project today, I gotta, deliver on all of these things. I just wanted to that. It depends.
And if I can just quickly add to that, Dupe, so you have a project team and you have different set of people on your team. You have a business analyst, who work with you on your business case in some cases, and in some cases some organizations they even go to other bigger organizations like the big fours, that delivers project. They bring in some consultants that will work with you as a project manager. So for me, it's not as if you are going to be the one to put all this together. You have to work with SMEs and other people within the team, within the organization, to put yours is to manage the project, to control, ensure that these deliverables, are being, completed and are being delivered as well. Of course, you have some kind of knowledge and everything, but then I don't want you to think that you be the one to automate the process when you are not the SME. You being the project manager or the PMO analyst or whatever, you are not the SME. They have SMEs that will automate process. Yours is to ensure that it is done. That is it. Is there any question again and another thing?
Any more questions? Yeah, so I was asking, is there anyone apart from, was it Fenty? So, somebody talked about being a project coordinator in housing. Is there anybody else who maybe you're not called a project manager or a project coordinator, but you have done some of the things? Do you want to just indicate, maybe say yes, no, and just and I was saying I was going to tell you the reason why I was asking. The reason I ask is because I will talk about this shortly. When you're trying to move maybe from like housing or construction, those of you who are here, or even care or whatever sector, into probably maybe the tech space, we always talk about leveraging your transferable skills. So some skills that, of course, you require, that you have already, which will be relevant for you to get into. So if, for example, you have been writing reports, you have been responsible for coordinating project delivery of projects, maybe you have been responsible for managing maybe consultants, clients, and all of that. And you're not a project manager, you're not a project coordinator. But you see, these things that you have been doing will be relevant, and you can actually leverage that for you to get into, let's say, we're talking about project management in this instance. So if you've been doing report writing, probably as within sales or within any other field, report writing is report writing. So you can actually, because you're already familiar with the concept and how it works. That's kind of why I was asking. And so when you are now looking to plan that your transition, you can leverage that experience that you have from a previous role or from something that you've done before. And so it's just to make a note of that, to say, oh, wow, I'm not called a project manager, but I actually do this on my day to day, and things like that. So you know that you got something that you can leverage. It's just for you to then repurpose that, so it has the project management feel to that. But of course, you need to learn a little bit more about project management so that you're using the right terminology and all of that. These are the kind of things that you will then put on your CV when you're going out to get a job, because people a lot of times are like, oh, where am I going to start from? Even if I do a course that is 6 months, 3 months and all of that, is that enough? So we always will tell you to draw from your previous experience that will be relevant. Of course, not everything will be relevant, but by the time you know what is required for project management, it begins to give a light, you begin to have that light bulb moment to say, hang on a minute, I do this. So I didn't realize this was project management. And all you need to do is to take that experience and it becomes something that you can, repurpose on your CV, and it then stacks your experience as well when you're going. And I normally use Amanda. She's not here today. So we have a few, normally we'll have testimonials, live testimonials, but because we're conscious of time, I'm just going to read one or two of they're not, we didn't ask them to come on. Sometimes we normally ask them to come and share, but I'm just conscious of time. Yeah.
Sorry,
So,
we've got
yeah.
some questions on the chat box.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. It says no questions.
So there's one, what's the difference
Okay.
between a project coordinator and PMO?
Okay, so you can take them then if you can see them. I can't see them.
Yeah, then please,
Oh,
how
okay.
long does it take to learn? So let me start with first. How long does it take to learn basic project management from the scratch? It all depends on how fast you are at picking things up, really. You can take 3 months and you get your first role, and it can take 1 year before you get your first role. So it all depends. I think it took me 6 months to get my first role, starting from the scratch. But then I had to do some, because there was no training platform like this. I had to do the exams and all that. I had to do I had to do Prince 2, which was the first. Just put that on my CV to just give me that chance of my CV being picked up by recruiters, because I just didn't want to go in blind, really. So it all depends on how fast you are. But then, to be realistic, at least a minimum of 6 months for you to learn, and then for you to do some project management work as well, get those experience that you need, because in this country it's the experience that really matters. You want to go into an interview and be very, very confident that you've worked, even if it's just one project that you worked on, you are able to talk about it because you actually work on that project. You understand? Not that you are faking it or anything. You actually work on it, and even when they ask you a question, you're able to answer questions, and that's what matters. Is the experience really that you need. And then the second question, project coordinator and PMO. For me, it's semantics. It all depends, really. You work as a project coordinator, that means you're working on the project. You are supporting the project manager and all that in ensuring the project is being delivered. You do admin stuff and all that. And they're working as a PMO as well. It all depends as well, because you do similar things, because it's at the end of the day, just project deliverables. The key project deliverables, like your reporting, your rate, your action logs, you find that across all projects. So as a project coordinator, you want to understand what to do with them, and as a PMO, that's the project management officer or project management office analyst, support and everything. For me, it's just semantics. You do similar, you still have to do similar activities.
Okay, I think that's all that we have in terms of questions. Okay, how much is project management? Yeah, we're coming to that quickly. Yeah, so I think I like that. Okay, so Ella says I have. Okay, you have. Maybe you've done some reporting. That's good. So you can begin to make a note of that, right, I have something. I normally will say you start with what you have in your hand. You don't have to start from ground zero, but you need to know what is required for you to know, okay, yes, this is required and I have this. you know, so you can say, okay, I've got this and this is what is now needed for me to begin to pick up, you know, things like that, which is what we are trying to communicate with you here. So yeah, it is really, it depends on you, because let me just use an example. Now, the testimonial I have here, Monique is not here, but let me talk about Monique. The reason that I want to talk about this is because we've had people who have had different experiences, and I normally would tell them everybody's journey is different, okay? Some people in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, they're able, you know, to be ready. We've had somebody who's had no idea, I mean, didn't have any prior experience, but because she was so hungry, Minnie, I think she's on the other slide, Minnie came on and she was like, you know what, I've been a mom and I have been off work for 10 years. Okay, although hers was business analysis, and she wanted to get back. I think she had a personal issue, so I don't need to go into detail, but she said, this is my goal, this is my target. I want that by the 5th month, I should be attending interviews. Because I'm going to move home, I'm going to move a location, blah, blah. I want to get a job by month 6. And she was able to get that done. She worked hard. Okay. And then we had some other people who within 3 months, 4 months, they were able to get in there. But maybe someone like Monique and Jumoke, a few names I'm mentioning, they finished the program, right, with us. Like we'll say, because you finish the program doesn't mean you sit down. You carry on developing yourself. Okay. You carry on applying for jobs, and you find that, okay, I'm looking at job descriptions here. I don't like, we come on, 3 months, 6 months, we can't give you everything that is required, but we will give you enough for you to be able to develop that confidence that I really can do this thing and I can start applying for jobs. We help you to get job market ready, but that is not the end of the story. So you have to keep developing yourself. So Monique had finished, I think she was on the 6 months program or so. And she had finished, and she started applying for jobs. She was getting calls, but I think hers was the interview bits that took longer. So you might actually have everything in terms of the knowledge, you've picked up the skills, the confidence, but some people are just not able to ace the interview as quick as others. And so you find that I think hers now took a year because she was getting calls immediately, but the interviewing was that bit that she had to work on. And we have a lot of people like that. It's just some people, interviews are just very tricky. Even I don't like interviews. I interview people, but I don't, you know, and stuff like that. So it might take you longer. Whereas Faith, who was on our masterclass the last time, came and talked about her story. She, before she finished the program, she was already interviewing and she got 3 offers at the end. All the interviews that she did, she got offers on. So you see that it really varies. And you know, and then we have some people who are not really, you know, they join and not really pulling their weight, and they might just take longer. So at the end of the day, it is up to you. If you're like, I want to have finished this thing, once I finish the 3 months program, in the next, say, a month or so, I want to start attending interviews and all of that, and you give the work in, you put the work in. Like what I was saying to Lydie earlier, we want to let you know it's not a walk in the park. We will not paint picture. I mean, I know when you're out there, people say, oh, it's so easy. It's a lie. It's not so easy, especially if you're starting from the scratch. If you're moving from a completely different field into a new field, you need time. Okay. So it's not a walk in the park, but it is absolutely possible. And we have several success stories of people who were complete novices, like no technical. Ola was doing her catering business, hadn't worked before, but she is with one of the automotive industry organizations now as a contractor, but she puts the work in. So in summary to that question that you asked, how much are you willing to put in? If you're ready to put the work in, that will determine how long it will take, because we will give you the tools when you join, of course. If you join, we'll give you the tools, we'll give you the support, but at the end of the day, it's still up to you. Okay, because of time, I think we'll move on. If there are any questions, we'll come to that later. We have already done, yeah, because of time. I said just, yeah, pull all your questions in the chat. Let me quickly go through business analysis, and then we'll come back and take more questions and make it very interactive so that at least you leave, you know, with all your questions answered. as best as you can. Someone says, can you work as a project manager? Yeah, it's all remote. All of us are working remotely.
Everyone's working remote, yeah.
Yeah, all of us
Yeah.
are. I've been working remotely for over 4 years. I'm almost getting bored, and I'm like, oh, I need to get out there and stuff like that. So that's the beautiful thing about tech, is you work remotely. Most jobs are remote. I've been working with a Canadian company currently about a year. So I'm in Canada now. I just came to meet my team for the first time in a year since I joined, because I've just been remote from the UK, but I came to Canada to meet my team on Friday. So yes, you can work remotely, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
Go on.
one more,
Yeah.
just one last one here.
Yeah.
Do you have to take certifications and all that? It all depends on you, not necessarily, but it's good to have it on your CV, really, because it gives you that edge that you need,
Mhm.
and that confidence as well that when you're going for interviews. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, and also on that one, right? Certifications are not going to give you the job though.
No.
They will give you an edge, but I would say if you flip it the other way, focus on gaining the skills or the hands-on experience, so that, because that will build your confidence. I normally tell people that I went for a training, crash course, I did some certifications, but going for the interview, I wasn't confident enough because I hadn't done any practice. I hadn't put anything into practice. I hadn't worked on a project. So some of the questions they were asking me, I didn't find it when I was reading my textbook, so some of these things are like practical things. And so we would normally tell you, focus on gaining the hands-on experience, and then you layer that with certification, so that it is good on your CV, and then it even helps you to build that and develop that body of knowledge, because as you're reading for a certification, you're learning more about this industry standards and all of that, and it helps you as well. But it is not the ticket to getting a job. It is just one to have, and you don't need to have certifications before you get a job. You can get a job, and
Yeah.
yeah, we've had people like that. Okay, let me quickly go into business analysis. But very good questions, and we can come back. We can come back. How can we get practice if we don't have? Oh, you don't need certification to get practice. Wow, that's interesting. So you don't need certification. We'll talk about that. Let me talk about business analysis.
Yeah.
We'll come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should go into that first, and then
Yeah, we'll come
yeah.
back and really trash this one for you, okay? I think that question I've had it before, but right, okay. So thank you so very much, Heidi, for project management. I think that was really good, very detailed. And I would always advise you that don't take our word alone for it. Please go home, do more research, do more work, go onto YouTube, go on to different, different platforms, and find out more, do more research, go on to LinkedIn, look at jobs and say, okay, what do I need as a project manager? So you've got enough information or insights for you to make a final decision. Right, so that's really good. Let's talk about business analysis. I'll take this from a definition from the IIBA. By the way, we are an IIBA endorsed education provider, our business analysis program. So we really talk a lot about IIBA. Prior to now, we were really focused on the British Computer Society. So that was more those of you who are in the UK. It's more, let's say, what you call it, UK specific in terms of a body that regulates and accredits training providers. And so our curriculum previously was more tailored to the BCS curriculum, but we recently enhanced our business analysis curriculum to align with the IIBA. Now, according to the IIBA, business analysis is the practice of it's a practice, right? I want to talk about the fact that business analysis is a practice, right? It is not a job title alone. It's not a role alone. It is a practice. And what does that mean? You can be doing business analysis and not be called a business analyst. Think about that. And as I dive deep, you will now understand what business analysis is. And you might be able to actually have another light bulb moment to say, right, hang on a minute, I've been doing this, but I'm not called a business analyst. I am not that is, I don't have the title of a business analyst, but I have been doing business analysis. And the benefit of that is you can take that and also leverage it as we're talking about this whole transferable skills. So you have been doing business analysis. That's why I say it is a practice. It's not a role alone. It's not a title. It is a practice of enabling change in an enterprise. And why is, by defining, or how do you do that? By defining the needs. And then why do you define the need? Or it's important for you to define the need so that you can recommend or prefer solutions that will deliver value to stakeholders. Business analysis, I'll take it again, is a practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions. Let me talk about defining needs. Why is it important in this definition? A lot of organizations today have either, I think Lydia already mentioned the reason why projects are initiated, why projects are triggered is because an organization is looking to improve something, to improve their way of working, to improve a process, to enhance maybe a current system, or maybe a finance system, a HR system that is not working, that maybe team members are complaining about, or is manual and is probably hindering revenue generating of revenue, or is even affecting their staff. It's leading to high staff turnover because people are getting frustrated by the existing process or the system. And the business says, right, okay, how do we fix this? So you've got to be able to say, define the need, define the problem in order for you to say, okay, this is the solution to the problem. And that is what business analysis really is about. And business analysis, of course, no organization will embark on a project if they're not hoping to get value or some form of benefit. Lydia also mentioned it, whether it's tangible or intangible. So you see that business analysis and project management they work hand in hand. They are quite you can't actually silo business analysis from project management because you're part of a team or an initiative or delivering that initiative. So that is what business analysis is. You go into an organization and you say, okay, business, what is your problem? What are the pain points? What is wrong that you're trying to fix? So, and the way that you do that as a business analyst, there are several industry techniques that would allow you to investigate the business situation. So that's asking business what is wrong is what you call investigation. And that is part of the practice of business analysis. And you're speaking to stakeholders, you're speaking to people within the department that has the issue that they want to solve in order for you to understand the current state. Okay, so that you now say, let's go out and figure it out. How can we prefer a solution? In order for it. So it's very key that the need or the problem is clearly defined. And the business analysis study will allow you to, use several techniques to arrive at that. So I'll move on quickly. I just wanted to, bring it home to you. And you as a business analyst, you might picture maybe a small business that is trying to, I always use this example of COVID where a lot of businesses that had brick and mortar, you had to maybe, for example, a cafe or where you had to go in physically, and they didn't have an online presence. So you find that a lot of businesses went into extinction or died, did not survive because they did not adapt, because they were not agile. COVID happened, and if you didn't have an online presence, there was just no way for you to even maybe deliver. Remember COVID, that was when a lot of all these delivery, outfits kind of sprung up because we were at home and we wanted things delivered to us and all of that. So businesses that were able to take advantage of that opportunity So that is another thing. So business analysis, as a business analyst, it's not only about trying to fix a problem. It might be helping an organization that has spotted an opportunity. So you help that organization to execute on it or to bring it to life. Okay, so somebody might say, wow, okay, this is happening. People want things to be delivered. That's an opportunity. How can we take advantage of that? What do we need to do? So you as a business analyst, you go in there and you now begin to investigate. You now begin to look at what that business is, their current processes. What do they sell? What do they offer? How can they go online? How can they build an online presence so that they can begin to serve people? And they will not even need a physical building anymore. They might just need a website where people can quickly go. And Deliveroo, Uber Eats, all of them, all of us are still using it till today, even though COVID has finished. But that was an opportunity that some smart businesses took advantage of, and it has become something, that will live on for a long time. So you as a business analyst might be that person who would go in and help that, this sort of organization to explore this opportunity and actually bring it to life. So I want you to really talk about that. Okay, so then now let's talk about, we talked about the practice of business analysis. So it's everywhere. So you just have to think about it. I've used the COVID example, and then there are different, and one thing I also want to mention is it's not tech driven, it's not IT driven in all scenarios, in all situations. Business analysis, even project management, does not have to be IT. IT is an enabler. Okay, but we talked about change. Lydie also mentioned that change might be a process change. It might just be a digital transformation that may not even require information technology, that might not require IT. So you see that it is quite vast, it is quite broad. I mean, change now is what I'm saying. And so you can plug in either as a project manager or as a business analyst into delivering on any of these change initiatives is something I wanted to bring out, okay? So let's talk about the role of a business analyst. The business analyst, the role of a business analyst is as an advisory. So you are really, like Lydie said, you are not the one that is going to deliver the solution. You're not the one that is going to implement the change. You are just playing an advisory role. What does that mean? You, because you are, at least you are an expert, you understand the practice of business analysis, you understand all the techniques that would help the business to articulate or define the need and all of that, right? But you are the one that will facilitate all of these things. You don't have to have an expert. You don't have to be the one that is the software developer. You don't have to be the one that is going to design the solution, but you will tell the business, this is what you need. Because of your experience as a business analyst, you would say, okay, I've done my research. For this, we need X, we need Y, we need Z, and we need these SMEs, we need these experts, we need a software developer to do it. So you are putting together, you are the advisor. You are telling them, I've done the research, this is what we need. Okay, business goal, employ a software developer, employ a project manager, employ a data analyst, employ a data engineer, but you are just giving the advice as a business analyst. Nobody's going to expect. I was talking to because we have our academy where the people are on and doing different projects, and I was so normally we have a weekly review meeting when they're presenting their projects, and one of the projects was talking about I think they had a raid that they had identified, a risk, and they said there is a chance that maybe that solution will not be delivered successfully or something, and or would not have, the team would not have the required expertise. I said, well, that is faulty, because the expectation is not that the team will have the expertise, because we will get a software developer who's an expert. So you as a business analyst, you should just be concerned about writing the requirements. What do we need? You advise us as a business that this is what you need, and then we get the experts to get it done. So I wanted to really emphasize that nobody's going to expect you to know everything. you're the one that will say, okay, these are the things, these are the requirements, and business will say, okay, let's get all the things that we need. So it's an advisory role, and you have a responsibility. You are investigating. I mentioned that you investigate the situation. Now, nobody's expecting you to make anything up, because the industry, it's a practice that has been around forever. Okay, for a long time, not forever, for a long time. And so there are industry standard techniques and tools that will support you as you're carrying out your investigation, as you're carrying out your analysis. So it says you will be responsible for investigating, analyzing business situations, identifying and evaluating options for improving business systems. Now, all of these things that have been mentioned, there are techniques, there are tools of the industry that will support you, that you will use to arrive at this. So it's not something that you sit down and try to figure out. So please remember that. And so you are also responsible for elaborating and defining requirements. So you will now say, okay, business who wants to go online, you want an online presence. These are the requirements. 1, you need a website. 2, you need a software developer to build a website. 3, you need to know, okay, how do you want to take orders online, and all of that. So these are the requirements that you as a business analyst, you are just outlining for the business, and you put it together, and here, business, there you go. Let's get it done. And also, so you are defining the requirements, ensuring effective implementation. Why are you ensuring effect? You're not implementing, but you need, because you'll be the one that has sat down with the business. You are the one that has investigated the situation. You are the one that has written the requirements. So you can't just hand it off and go away. The person who said about project management, is it that she would prefer to just be at the initiation and then hand it off, and all of that. We talked about that. But business analysis in a traditional, times, it was quite siloed, and they weren't actually called, it wasn't business, and I think it was systems analysis or something. And it was more a case of different way, and everybody was working in a silo. So you write requirements, hand it off, and you're not involved in implementing and seeing it through to the end. But businesses now found that that wasn't really a good way to go about it, because when you hand off and there is a question, for example, maybe the developer who is implementing or delivering the solution has a question, it's so, and you're not involved, it can be tricky, because they're like, okay, who do we ask, and things like that. So it now made sense that teams are more collaborative. So you as a business analyst, you are involved with the project from beginning to the end, because you have written the requirements. If the developer has any clarification required, you are the go-to. And you will say, right, okay, this is what the business asked for. And so, you're redefining where, you're providing clarity. So you will not just be handing off. That's where the ensuring the effective implementation, because at the end of the day, you don't want a developer or whoever it is that's delivering something to deliver something that is not fit for purpose, that does not meet the requirements. There's something we call requirements traceability. So business analysts, you document the requirements, you document what the business needs. We need a website, we need this, we need that, and all of that. So when somebody goes and delivers, you need to be able to, benchmark and just say, okay, this thing that has been delivered, does it align with what we wrote? Sorry, what the requirement said? It's very important, because until it does, you cannot accept that it has been a successful delivery. So you will be involved in the implementation and all through the end. Now, on this other side, it talks about different, business roles. For example, you could actually have a hybrid, or you could be a hybrid business analyst. You could be a specialist business analyst. You could be a generalist practitioner. So a hybrid, you just probably require a combination, a degree of competency in business analysis, and maybe, in some cases more other responsibilities of maybe something else that you're doing. So you might be doing business analysis and even project management. That could be something as an example. So that is that hybrid. Or you could be a software engineer, but you're also doing the practice of business analysis, if you put it that way. And then the specialist one, you are quite niche, quite specialist and you're using a limited set of techniques, and that's kind of what you are known for. So you find some jobs or some roles where they're looking for maybe a Salesforce business analyst. So you're quite specialist. That is not to say that you should not, work on getting generalist skills and knowledge. But what I would normally say is you start as a generalist business analyst. So where you are picking up, developing skills across the board, different techniques and different types of projects, working across different domains, because you'll be more versatile. And then later along the line, you could say, oh, I've done this for 3-4 years. I want to be specialist. And you might now say, oh, I want to be a Salesforce specialist. I want to be a HubSpot specialist. It could be anything. And so you will now be known for that particular. And so that means all the type of business analyst jobs that you'll be looking for will be in that area of specialism. You'll be, so you find that sometimes, okay? And then the generalist, of course, is you're not, you don't care really, you just do everything pretty much. Okay, now what is the skills of a business analyst? Yeah, we are coming to learn soon. Just please keep up popping your questions. What are the skills? Now, this, of course, is not an exhaustive list, but the core skills that you need to think about, right? Communication. It is so mandatory. It's so important for you to actually be successful. I would normally say in all of these taster sessions when I'm having them, if you're somebody who does not like to talk, you don't like to engage with teams, you don't like to present, findings and all of that, and you want to just be behind the screen, then maybe you should take up coding. Maybe you should take up being a software developer, because these days now, they are involved in these conversations, but a lot of times they're just behind their screen writing code. But a business analyst, you're the intermediary between the business and the development team, as an example, or other subject matter experts. So you are trying to look at what the business needs in terms of while you're investigating the business situation or you're carrying out that business analysis study, you are engaging with the stakeholders on the business side, and you now find out what the requirements are, you write the requirements, and you are also involved in implementing the solution or delivering the solution. So you will now be talking to the development team or the people who are going to deliver on it, who might be more technical. So you are in the middle. The point here is you need to communicate across functional teams. So if you're not somebody who likes to have those conversations, talk to people, you've got to rethink it, okay? Because communication is super important, whether verbal or written, as a business analyst. People skills, still the same thing. Talking with people, managing people is important as a business analyst. That is not to say that I've never come across business analysts who are introverts. They have a way to manage it, but you will still have to engage, and stuff like that with people. But just be aware that it's important, because your day-to-day, your bread and butter is having meetings, engaging different teams across the board. Critical thinking, very important. Research, I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because I was just talking about that with the team on Friday. 9 times out of 10, when you're on a project, nobody expects that you should know everything. You can't be expected to figure it all out. So as you're going through your business analysis practice or study, as it were, there will be things that you need to find out. The business will say, oh, can we explore this opportunity? You may not have the answer. You say, okay, I'll take that away. And what do you do next? You go and research. So you're working on something that you're not familiar with. Now, it will take time for you. I've been in this field for over a decade, almost 13 to about that. But I can't tell you hand on heart that I know everything. No, because one, the world is changing. IT is fast-paced, tech is changing, the economy is changing, And so what you knew yesterday may not be relevant, may have gone obsolete in a year or two. So you've got to be ready to research like on the go. So you find that, oh, there is something that we need to find out. Go on Google, research and all of that. So research is very important as a business analyst. Negotiation skills, very important. As you're writing your requirements, as you're working with the business, sometimes there might be, you are recommending a solution. Right now, a business analyst, you're not solutionizing. You will recommend solutions, and it will come from research. It'll come from findings. It'll come from your analysis that you would have done and you present to the business. But you also need to be able to say, try to convince the business why they should go with option A or option B. And you know that negotiation is important. Now, it may not be required in all projects, in all situations, but sometimes you might end up, having to do that. So it's just something to be aware of. Technical skills here is not writing code, it's not programming, it's really around the technical or the hard skills. It's really around what is the industry techniques, what is the industry terminology, what are the methodology that you require to carry out the practice of business analysis. So these are the things that we mean there. It's not that you need to go and start worrying when we already said you don't need to be technical, but it's more. So the soft skills are, communication, presentation, negotiation, but the hard skills are what are the requirements that you need from what's available within the industry. What are the techniques? What are the methodologies? So you need to know that. Not everything, but at least the core elements. You need to know that for you to actually be successful, and that's important as well. I wanted to emphasize that because some people attend this taster and they say, "Oh, you say you don't need, so why are you saying that?" Like, the technical bit is just the hard skills, vis-a-vis the other element which we have mentioned around soft skills like communication and all of that. Okay, I'm going to pause. Does anybody have any questions? Let me see while I catch my breath. Any business analysis related questions for now? I know we'll go back to project management one shortly. Okay. Oh, thanks, Ladi. You are responding. Okay. Oh, somebody says, have I been glitching? Can you guys hear me well? No? Okay. Okay, that's fine. No questions. That's good. But you can hear me and you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about business, the approach. I've been talking about business analysis as a practice. And what you see here is what we call the business analysis process model. And I also mentioned that nobody's going to expect you to manufacture anything new because there's nothing new. It's a practice that has been around for a long time. And there are processes that, of course, will guide the practice of business analysis. And that is the reason why you need the training. You need to know this. While you can leverage transferable skills, while you can pick on things that you have done before, but in order for you to even get through the door, to get interviewed, let alone do the getting on the job, you've got to be able to demonstrate your understanding and knowledge of the business analysis, what you call maybe like practice, as it were. So the techniques and techniques, tools, and processes that you require for you to do the job at the end of the day. So you need to know that. You can't go for an interview and you're just not using those industry terminologies when you're talking. You will not convince the person that you understand the body of knowledge, as it were. So business analysis process model. So at the top there, you have your business strategy and objective. So we've said again, time and time again, no business will, just start a project without probably having an objective which is driving it, or maybe a roadmap or an overarching strategy or business strategy that is kind of driving that initiation of a project or whatever opportunity that the business analyst will be exploring. So that is usually at the top, it drives everything. And then, of course, coming down to the next level, the business analysis process What does that entail? Where do you start as a business analyst? You have been hired and you have been told that this is the mandate, this is the project, the business has these objectives. Maybe, for example, using the same example of the person who wants to have an online presence, and they would have articulated a few of the business objectives to you. Okay, now let's go. Where do you start from? You start from investigating the situation. And like I said, there are industry techniques that will help you to do it. So you can't say, wow, where do I start from? And all of that. No, you just go and use what's already applicable, or what's already available, and you use that. One, investigation techniques. You have rich pictures, you have mind maps. These are just a scratch of the surface, because there are so many. And with AI, with machine learning and all of the things, that's why I say that the change, the past years has just been exponential. So you've got to look at what's in the market that you can use to help you do the job, as it were. So you are investigating the situation. You want to know that woman, or sorry, that business owner who wants to go online. First of all, there are techniques such as either, you see that in the next slide, maybe you organize a workshop, or you have what you call an interview. So interviewing is one of the techniques to investigate the situation. What is interviewing? It's just asking questions, speaking to the business, or speaking to that departmental head. If it's a finance system that you're trying to fix, it just depends. So the stakeholder that can give you that answer that you're looking for. So that's why I said a business analyst will be talking to people a lot. As you're investigating, you're asking questions, or you're putting a workshop together, or you're doing what you call document analysis. So investigation, there are different tools that would help you to carry that out. So that's the first thing you do. And of course, as you're investigating the situations, you're making notes. You're writing to say, okay, this is what they said. I spoke to the departmental head, and these are the pain points and that is forming your requirement list. Okay. Then the next thing is you consider perspectives. Do your stakeholder analysis, like they mentioned about stakeholders, different stakeholders with different perspectives that have different views of the world, or they have different desires of this solution that everybody's talking about, or different stake, in the game. Finance might say, okay, if it's a digital transformation program, as an example, I'm using another example. This is why we care. Probably, and then maybe HR might say, this is our own perspective of how we think this how we would like this solution to work. And so you, as a business analyst, you need to be able to consider these various perspectives. Now, not everything will be accepted, because, as you know, people will come if you allow people. I remember my very first business analyst role with the University of Nottingham-Trent. We had several business analysis. We used to call them business analysis process workshops. And now this one was for their, what do they call them now? Their graduate school. And they wanted to enhance the website, and so we needed to speak to academics, because academics had microsites that that they were using for their different research publications and stuff like that. So with myself and I was a junior BA, I was just shadowing a senior BA. So we had lots of workshops, and we will have a big workshop where we're bringing different people, and we're now trying to listen to their different perspectives about this solution that we're trying to bring. So you would ask them, okay, why do you want this change? This one will say that, and that one, and that one, and that one. But you see, the thing is, as a business analyst, again, you still have to be mindful of the overarching objective. Because while it's important to consider other stakeholder perspectives, we still need to go back to the top, because you can't deliver on everything. So you still need to say, right, okay, I'll take this, I'll take a note of that, but what is the business objective? What do we want to deliver first, and things like that. So that is something to be mindful of. Data finding, business activity modeling, these are just different techniques that would help you to carry out these processes, or these steps in this process. Nobody will expect you to figure it out by yourself. Conscious of time. Wow. Analyze the needs. You can use different ways to do your analysis. Some may be visual. So business process modeling is a visual representation. It's a visual way of trying to analyze the needs. You can do what you call a gap analysis. What is a gap analysis? You are now saying what is the current state, which is the point A, and we want to get to point B. And how do we, what's in the gap, or how do we get from point A to B? So that is your gap analysis. And of course, what's in between might just be things that we need to do in order for us to move from point A to point B. So your gap analysis, again, there are industry tools and stuff that will help you to do that. Move quickly, and then you evaluate the options. So the reason you are doing investigation of a situation, considering perspectives, analyzing the needs, is because you want to be able to come together to write sets of requirements, which will now be delivered in form of a solution. Okay, so you're not doing that for the fun of it. You are going somewhere. And so you will take all these steps in order for you to arrive at that end point. Then you look at evaluation of the options. What are the options in the market? As you have defined the needs, you have been able to say, okay, this is a problem. How do we solve it? Business analyst, you are a problem solver. Okay, if you're somebody that likes to solve problems, then maybe you're in the right place. And we now look at cost benefits analysis. We look at what are the options in the market. So you will now present it to the business. At the end of the day, it's still the business that decides or takes the call. You cannot say, hey, business, because I'm the business analyst, you must do X, Y, and Z. There's something we call solutionizing. We normally will say a good business analyst doesn't solutionize. You don't just slam the solution at the business. You give them options, you provide insights, you provide research findings, and rationale why you would recommend it. But at the end of the day, they need to make the call. And then this helps you to define your requirements. And there are several ways that you can use to define those requirements. A day in the life of a business analyst, yes, central point of communication, like I said, you're the one talking to the business. You're the one you do a lot of the heavy lifting. If we were to compare project managers, yes, you facilitate, you organize, you plan, you structure, you make sure that you're keeping on, the project is on track. But a lot of the analysis, a lot of the talking to the business and the stakeholder, the business analyst does that. Somebody was saying that, wow, I didn't realize the business analyst does a lot. So you do a lot of the heavy lifting anyway, because you are that person in the middle that sort of pulls it all together. You do requirements elicitation. So all like we said now, the business analysis process model, we just talked from investigating the situation, analyzing, preferring options and all of that, and then that would help you to define the requirements. You own the requirements, business analyst. That is something that is your baby. And you also will work with the business to look at the prioritization, because a lot of times the business would need to be able to say, okay, which one can we deliver now? And you will be able to give them insight in order for them to make that decision. You facilitate discussions, and of course we mentioned business analysis techniques and deliverables. Yeah, so that's just a little bit, but it is quite extensive. And please, you can go online and just put a type and say, if I go onto YouTube and type a day in the life of a business analyst, loads of videos. So you can watch and hear people talk about this practice of business analysis from different perspectives and all of that. Okay, so this one is just a business analyst opportunities. It's one, especially I talk about, I don't mean to be sexist, but I talk about moms who probably, because this is my story, you took a career break to have kids and all of that. And you are now like, okay, I want to pick my career up again, but I want something that gives me flexibility to be able to be there for my family. And business analyst, project management gives you that. Someone asked about remote working. Like I said, I've been working remotely from home for years. Even before COVID, I was going into London for a few days, and then it reduced to maybe 2 days, 3 days. So that, because as business analysts and project managers, you can work from anywhere pretty much. So that flexibility is amazing. And of course, it's very rewarding as well. And then if you're looking for something that has long-term potential, it will be around forever, because businesses will be around forever and they need business analysts to help them, to solve problems, and all of that. So this one was, I think it's a bit dated, but not too far actually. It says, according to global research from the IBA, in the US alone, the number of business analyst roles has increased by 747% over the last 2 years, while in the UK, so the point here is, okay, this is 2022 or 2020, sorry. So this is to tell you, and it's even gone higher now, to tell you that if you're still on the fence thinking, is it worth it? I want something that will give me long-term potential. There you go. That's your statistics right there. And business analysts can be permanent or contract roles or fixed-term contract. My very first role I started was a fixed-term contract of 12 months, and then I went into contracting, and then later I went back to perm. So it's quite versatile. It just depends on what your situation is and what will work for you. So you could, although a lot of times we say to people who are starting from the scratch, maybe just to develop your confidence and to build your feet on the ground, you can start with permanent, because permanent roles, they'll train you, they'll give you time. Whereas with contracts, because of how much they're paying you, they want you to start delivering immediately. I've seen scenarios where you start a contract and by that first week, you are expected to have something, to show, because it's a day rate, whereas with permanent, they will, take time to train you first 3 months and all of that. So it depends. But if you are somebody that, I think Faith, she joined, and when she had 3 offers, she had 2 permanent and 1 contract. And I said, this is new for you. Do you want to take, or do you want to just get all in and she says, I want more money. I'm going to take the contract one and I will put my head, and it worked for her. So it just really depends, okay? And earning potential, I think that's gone up now anyway. You could start from 40K to 50. Contract roles could go from 350 and above. All of that is of course. And then you can, like I've also mentioned, you can leverage, your transferable skills from previous roles and experience, which will then help you to position yourself. So help me type in the chat. Yes, I whizzed through that one. What, let's go to questions. Okay, I think what I wanted to ask, type in the chat, are you team BA or team project manager? Are you team BA or team PM? And any questions? Any questions? Who's interested in business analysis or project manager? You can do both, you just pay more. Okay, we're having some hybrids here. Okay, interesting. Okay, not sure. Okay, so Favor, why not sure? Tell me, let's talk. What do you think? Why are you not sure? Just out of interest. He doesn't want too much.
He doesn't want too much stress.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Honestly, there's no stress to it. I'm telling you, that it's the most lucrative, less stress work ever.
Yeah. Okay, someone says which one pays more and which less. So that is quite subjective, to be honest.
Subjective, yeah.
Okay, let me quickly talk about, so we're rounding up. I know we are over time. Let's talk about the career transition tips. I won't go into all that, but you've got to first of all be clear, which was why I was asking, what your approach, which is your preferred area and all of that. You've got to be clear, because we have people, join and they're like, oh, today I want to do PM, tomorrow I want to do BA. What will help you to gain clarity, like what you see there? First thing is clarity, is for you to do what we call that skills matching or skills gap analysis. And what it means is taking advantage of what you already have in your hand. I always say to people, go in with something, right? So let's use the example of somebody who has been in the health sector, I mean, for as maybe functioning in a different capacity for 10 years, and you're thinking about going into business analysis or project manager, your first domain should be health as a business analyst or as a project manager, because you already have an understanding of that domain or you of the system. And again, because it is now going to be on your CV that you have been a nurse or a health practitioner for 10 years, and now you're trying to apply for business analyst or project management jobs within the NHS as an example, that gives you an edge. So rather than trying to start a complete, I'm not saying that it's not possible for you to, say, oh, I've had enough of health, I want to try digital, or I want to try something else. It is possible, but when you are trying to get a foot in the door, you need to put your best foot forward. You need to look at all the things that are stacking up well for you, and that's something that you must sit down and get clear about. Which of these skills do I already have from what Veronica and Lydie have talked about? Yes, I'm not a project manager by title, but I've been doing project management. I'm not a business analyst by title, but I've been practicing business analysis on my current job. So that should help you to move the needle. Which of these do you have more of the skills or relevant experience to start? So you can use that, and then that should help you decide to say, okay, because I have this experience over time, and or maybe I have been, in fact, it may not even be what you call it. It might be outside of your career or work. It might just be personal life and all that. You do a lot of planning, you do events. That is something that you can leverage, and it's something you enjoy. You know how to organize, you know how to document things. So these are the things that you've got to think about, and you start making a note of to help you determine which way to go. What do you have from the skills that we've mentioned that is required for either of these parts? Start with that to get clarity. Very important. Then the strategy, how do you want to go about the transition? Okay, is it okay? You want to join the program? We'll talk to you about that now so that you can start developing the skills. Or you might decide that, okay, I want to do the certification route. There's nothing wrong with that, because as you are going down that route, you are picking up the knowledge that is required for you to write the exam and pass. And so that means you're understanding more about this subject matter or this area. So that might be, but you've got to have a strategy. Okay, and then more research to know the terrain, to know what is required. Do research, go on YouTube, go on LinkedIn, and find out more. Don't let this be the end of it, because if you're really serious, you must have a plan in place. You must have a transition plan. And so clarity, important, strategy, and then over time, evaluate, your options, and then how do you position yourself, which is the whole CVs and all of that. Okay, I already said that you don't have to start from scratch. Find out what relevant skills you already have. What are the easy roles that you can transition from based on your background, your previous background, okay? Those are essential. Getting a foot in the door, it could be professional certifications, join a boot camp like ours, which I will talk about now. Research, find out, or sign up for internship opportunities. So you might say, oh, I can't afford Veronica's boot camp now, and I want to go about it by myself. There are, I think the government does some free internships. So look for what's there. And I say to people again, you can actually volunteer. Look for a charity or your church. One of the ladies who comes on to give her testimonial volunteered with a church for 9 months as I think an admin person. So she had come on, she was a teacher for 8 years, but she wanted to move to project management. And she attended one of our taster sessions. And as we're talking about project management, she said she just had a light bulb moment that I've been doing these things. I'm organized, I can plan. And she said project management is what she wants to do. And then she joined the program, but also was now doing some admin stuff at the church to gain more experience and confidence and skill. So when we're working on the CV, as she was talking about that, I'm like, put it on your CV, because it's not called project coordinator, by title, but what you were doing is actually project management. So it is very essential that you know that. And there are several ways that you can pick up these hands-on experience that we are talking about. Those of you who maybe have relocated recently to the UK and you're like, how do I navigate? How do I make this transition? Hands-on experience count more than number of degrees and certificates that we'll probably obtain from back home. Network, make connections on LinkedIn. You are trying to get into a new field. Are you talking to people within that field? Are you making those are you networking with those connections? So this is another example. They're not here, but they're just testimonials that have been through our program. Ade, he's flying now. He works with one of the big banks. And Helen as well. Esther was in care for 10, 12 years, became a project management professional. Helen as well. So these are just examples. Now, quickly, I want to show you I will look at questions. I just wanted to go through one of our projects so that you can make sense of it, right? I'll walk it quickly, very fast. I'll pick one project. We have several. These are just old projects that were on this slide. We have several projects so that you can begin to see how, as a project manager, how do you fit into a project? How do you fit in as a business analyst? What are the things that you will do? What are the deliverables, like they said? What's the output of the work that you are doing? And I'll show you one of the things that we do for people who join our program. Our projects are real life projects. I'm going to stop sharing. I think I already asked this. Yeah, I'll stop sharing and quickly show that so that we can finish in another couple of minutes. But before we do that, let's take questions just in case anybody needs to go. I believe we get the recording. Yes, you will get a recording. Okay, Alida, you've already attended to. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's any. Okay, can't do both. Yeah, you can do both. I don't want too much stress. Okay, yeah, you're starting my okay, sorry. BA, because my current role aligns with PM more than the BA. Okay, so Ere, you said your current role aligns with PM more than the BA. So if your current role aligns more with the PM, why BA? Is it that you want to move away from what you're currently doing?
Well, yes, sort of. I feel like like I said earlier, I'm a change coordinator.
Yeah.
And I work closely with the project management team and the project officer. So we do all that, change alignment, doing all of that. But I just feel like the BA is something I'm more interested in than project management.
Okay.
And I would like to explore just to know more and see which really aligns with the skills that I have.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but from today, do you think because I'm assuming that based on what we've said and all of that, you can see that the alignment
It's with the project management because I already have that knowledge. But I'm hoping to develop like more knowledge. I want to know more about the business analysis so that way I can make an informed decision. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
So I'm exploring both options.
Okay.
So let's say both.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks. I've been in banking, blessing, and business development for 2 decades now in healthcare management. Which of this? So one thing we try not to do is to say do A or do B. So we do this taste session so you can listen and make the decision by yourself. So yes, you have done banking and business development. So maybe somebody might say, oh, because you've done banking, be a business analyst. Not necessarily so. Oludele, he came into the UK 2 years ago. He's a project manager now. He came on and he had banking experience of 10 years. And he went into project management because he joined the program. He didn't touch business analysis at all. He just thought that he had, even right in Nigeria, I think he said he's always wanted project management, but he just didn't know how to get in until he relocated to the UK. So it really, really depends on maybe your existing skills, and sometimes it might actually even be your interest. So apart from, yes, leveraging your transferable skills, interests, like what area yes, you see that project management seems to align better with what you're doing, but maybe you are more interested in exploring something new. That is still okay, but you still need to know that, okay, if you're going to go full, exploring something new, it will of course require more time and dedication. So you now need to decide, okay, do I have the time to, learn something new, or can I build on what I already have because I want to get a job in the next 3 months or 6 months? So it's those kind of conversations that you need to have with yourself, for you to make for the needle to move to either way, So I won't tell you this one or that one. I would say do more research, because we like for people to arrive at the decision for themselves. So you don't say, oh, Veronica told me to do this. No, we'll give you, enough information, and also encourage you to do more research, so that you will get the light bulb moment by yourself and say, yes, this is the one. And the reason for that is because when it gets tough, you cannot run away, because you made the decision by yourself. So you've got to really think about it properly, and be sure about what it is that you're doing. Okay, right. So let me quickly go. I just want to, does that make sense? So I would say, I won't tell you do this or do that. I will tell you do more research. I'll tell you what exactly is important to you. Do you want to get a job quickly? And if you want to get a job quickly, leverage what you already have and build on it, so that in the next, say, 3 to 4 months, 6 months, you get a job. Or if you have time and you want to give it a year or so, you start afresh, something new, something more exciting, something different. So those are the options that I would tell you. So, but at the end of the day, it's really up to you. Is what I would say. I hope that helps. Let me quickly share screen. And so this is behind the scene, of the academy. We like to call that the Change Academy. And these people who have joined our program, we have quite a few of people. We have a few cohort that started this new year. Well, January is not new year again. We're already mid-year. And these guys, all of them started from the scratch, nowhere. Some, from Nigeria, quite a lot of people who chat back recently and all of that joined us. And they are the ones that have been working on these projects. So let me pick one. Let me just go here. So this is one of the tools that you would need to get familiar with. Does anybody know about Confluence? Now, of course, there's so many tools, there's so many applications that you use to document. So whether you're a project manager, whether you're a business analyst, Lydie talked about a lot of all those reporting, what you call it, documents that you need, different tools, and there's tons. But there's no expectation that you must know everything. But at least for your CV to be shortlisted when you start applying for jobs, you need to make sure that you have some of these listed on your CV. You need to know that, okay, as a business analyst, I know how to use, I know, at least one of the industry standard tools or applications out there that, that is required for me to document the requirements. Remember, I said business analyst, you're the one writing requirements. You've got to know, it's not just putting, Word and Excel are important. Those are basic. You've got to know how to use at least Microsoft Office, so Word, Excel. You don't have to be an expert, a beginner, but you need to know them. Even for you to come on our program, it's a prerequisite, because that is what you use to work on the live projects. So we will ask you to pick that up, because we don't train you on how to use Word and Excel. We've had people who have come and we just will say, go and learn basic Word, Excel, PowerPoint, not expert, not advanced, not even intermediate, basic. And then when you've learned that, you come back on the program, because that is what you need. That's the tool of the trade. So Confluence is one of these applications that big organizations use, and so we use it within Sterling. One of the teams have been working on our digital transformation project, and so you would see here. Let me go. Yeah, let me just pick one of the projects. Where are they? let me go from the beginning. So I want to show you, okay, I want to show you how the project management stages that Lydie was talking about, and how a business analyst also works in collaboration with the project manager, documenting the requirements. Start joining at this time. Yeah, okay. So this is one of the digital transformation projects ongoing. These are real life projects. They are not fictitious. They are not made up. They are not a case study. They are projects that we use in-house. And that is why when you work on any of our projects, we give you work reference when you get a job to say you actually functioned on these projects with us. You helped us to deliver these projects. So our projects are real life projects. So a few of them are working, I think there's about 10 or so of them working on this digital transformation initiative for us. So as we already mentioned, these are the initiation, planning, design and build, implementation and closure, when Lydie was talking about this in project management. So probably this one as a project manager, if we click on here, you see that it is usually broken down into different deliverables expected or different set of activities. Okay. I don't want to spoil there because I think they've been working all morning today from what I'm seeing. But yeah, so this is a digital transformation project. They were given a mandate to say, we want to start a digital transformation program. We want to improve our sales process. We want to automate some of our existing marketing activities. You know, so these are the things that we gave them as a mandate. And of course, they have support from our internal team to, you know, help deliver these projects. So as a project manager, you will have the plan, you have that mandate. You now go ahead and you put a plan together, a planned set of activities at the initiation stage. But of course, you will be working very closely with the business analyst. One thing to also notice that these guys never work in silos. So the project manager will not make up these activities on their own, because the activities would also involve business analysis activities. And so you will have to engage with the business analyst to say, okay, what are the things that you will be doing at the initiation stage? Okay, what are the things that you'll be doing? And then the project manager will put it in the plan. Okay, and then this is now planning. So they've broken, let's just click on one. They've now broken into the planning stage. They're now planning the sales pipeline, which is, you know, yeah, this is just for them to, I think, to read. I think they are project lead put it there so that they can read about it and get the requirements. At this point, they are documenting requirements. So this is now, okay, so this is another way that you do your analysis as a business analyst. This is a business process flow diagram. Remember where I talked about business analysis process model? You investigate the situation, you analyze, you know, the needs or requirements as an example. And there are different ways that you can do your analysis. One of them is by doing what you call a business process model. Now, this is a visual representation, but in order for you to come up with this, you will need to speak to people. You will need to speak to the stakeholders to understand in that current state. So this investigation of the situation, it might just be, first of all, conversations. Okay, what is the current process? So they've interviewed me. They've interviewed our marketing, digital marketing manager. So they will interview. So that's what you would do as a business analyst. You receive that down. By the time you now speak to all the key stakeholders, one thing you would have to learn is to put it into visuals. As a business analyst, you have to learn how to put, you know, and it's not overnight. It's simple. It just takes commitment, because you cannot get a job if you don't have it on your CV that you at least know how to use one of these visual tools, because it is the bread and butter of business analysis. These days, organizations, somebody was asking me, oh, I think when we had the last taster workshop, somebody said, oh, what if I do an executive summary? Is that not enough? Come on, no. And can I tell you, people prefer to see pictures. They said a picture speaks 1,000 words. So putting it down in several long pages, if people don't like to go through text. I was working on something at work and I started off with 30 pages or something. My director was like, reduce it to 10. So I had to compress some things into visuals. So anybody, a senior stakeholder, a senior leadership person sees this, can say, okay, this is how the process starts. You start from social media, you do this. You may not understand it now because you're not involved in the project. But if you now present this to the business, they can already see that, oh, make this change here, make that change there. And you as a business analyst, you go and you make the changes until this is actually approved and finalized. Then you hand it over to the developer who is going to build that solution. So being able to actually present your findings using visual or diagramming tools is important for business analysis, because that's the way of the world now. People don't want to read text. And there's Visio, there's Microsoft Visio, there is a Lucid Chart, there is this one that is Glyphy and all of that. So the team would have worked on this, and then we look at it together and agree on what changes we need to make. And this will now form your requirements list. So business analysis also entails being able to use visual models as an example. Okay, we just close that. Okay, because of time, I think I would like to just round it off here. But and so just the business analyst will go through various stages from the initiation to the analyze, and then you go to the third stage of design, you build, release. So you're working with the developer, working with the technical team to deliver the solution. And so we have several projects. We have CRM implementation projects. We have process improvements. We have privacy program development. So if you are that sort of person, you want to be involved in that, even as a project manager or as a business analyst. So we have that, a wide array of different projects which people are working on. And by the time they finish, they are, they now develop that confidence. They are presenting every week. So they are developing that good communication and presentation skill, which will then go on their CV when they finish the program and they start applying for jobs. And we find that most of our people that come through us are able to keep the job, because it's one thing for you to blab and scale through the interview, maybe because you're a good talker and you can communicate, okay. But then what if you are able to scale through the interview? Like Lydia and I were talking about some people who have had to be fired, let me put it that way, because they couldn't keep the job. And that's not what we aim for. So we want our people to be well baked, so that once they get out there, they know how to hit the ground running, because they are now familiar with the use of all these tools, these applications and all of that, get on the program, and when they get their job, they are flying, and all of that. So another thing is, when this, let me go back. So let me stop and see any questions, and I'll tell you what I'd like to introduce to you for those of you who might be interested in joining us. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just seeing your question, your response. Okay. Any questions, any thoughts before we are going to round up in the next, say, 5 minutes? We've gone over. Any questions apart from what's in the chat? Okay, no. So I want to introduce you to, we have several programs, but I want to introduce you to our 12 weeks fast track program. Fast track because it is really project based, and we will spend a lot of time in the classroom on theory. So the plan is we'll have 2 Saturdays of theory classes where we talk about either business analysis or project management. So you need to select one. We have the hybrid, but it's more expensive. If for those who want to do that, we can have that conversation later where you do both. But we want to offer the 12 weeks fast track where you spend 2 Saturdays theory classes and then straight into projects where you now be assigned onto one of our projects. You work with a project team. You have access to our learning management portal. We have an amazing learning management portal. We have over 100 pre-recorded tutorials that have been taught by us, myself, and different trainers who are experienced in the field for years. And so you have 24/7 access to that, so that if, for example, you miss something, you have your account created, you can log in there and you catch up and you watch the recordings. Even as you're working on projects, you can watch those LMS tutorials to remind yourself of, oh, what does requirements gathering, how do I write requirements, how do I document requirements? All of that is there. But this particular program is very fast-paced, and it is really heavily project-based. So it's really you're developing your skill and your experience by working on real-life projects. And by the time it ends, we'll give you a certificate of completion. We'll also give you reference for the period that you have been with us. And one thing we're offering, if you sign up now, we will also give you an additional 4 weeks of career coaching. That is something that we don't offer with this package, because this package is pretty much really very low. The career coaching is part of our 6 months program, but if you sign up now, we will throw in 4 weeks we have our in-house career coach who looks at your CV with you. We don't write your CV for you, we write it with you, so that we believe that you must know your CV in order for you to defend your CV. But we have a system, we have our templates, we have all of that, which we work with you as a group. It's not one-to-one, because that's another, you pay the mentors for that. But we throw in 4 weeks, and you get on, you work on projects, you have access to the tools I just showed you, and you learn, and you have the support. You join our community. We have a community on Telegram where you can ask questions, and all of that. So yes, so you have all of that. What else was there again? Okay. Yeah, so you complete a project. I think we already mentioned that. Yeah. So, okay. Will you help with the certification exam? No, we don't do that. We don't help with that, not on this level. We don't do certification exam. You write your exam yourself. You write your exam yourself. You only get, we are IBA endorsed, but I think in 2 months, we are going to be offering exam prep. We're not doing that yet. We're just waiting for IBA to confirm a few things. But it won't be at this price point that we're offering you, because it will be an additional bit, because the IBA is going to charge us for it. So we don't do exam prep just yet, but we are working on it so that we'll be able to offer it as part of the package in the future. Not this package, certainly not. So we do the exam prep, and then I think the IBA gives us a voucher, which is discounted, but we're not there. We're working on it. But at the moment, we don't do exam prep. I think we only have a bank of questions that is somewhere in the academy that we share, but we don't. You have to do your exam by yourself, at least for now. Okay. Will you help with job acquisitions after? We don't, we're not a placement program. We do not help. We coach you on job search strategies. We don't place people in jobs. We tell you how to go about searching for jobs, which platforms to go, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you have to find your job by yourself. We just will get you job market ready. You'd have picked up the experience and all of that, but we just give you pointers. So every now and then, people that are in the group I always post, let's say I have openings. I think the other day we had 60 openings at work. I posted it in the community. So you'll be exposed to that. But at the end of the day, it's still up to you to apply for the job, to interview for the job and get the job. Nobody's going to hand any job to you. If you have been anywhere and they told you that they will give you a job, it's not true, because you have to still interview for you to get the job and all of that. So, and we're not going to paint any picture that is not true. We don't do that. We just help you to be confident enough to apply for jobs. And when we have job openings from our community, from our network, we post it in our Telegram group, and people will apply by themselves on their own merit. Although sometimes we can do referrals if we feel like this person, if I can trust you, I can say, send me your CV and I'll forward it. But you still need to interview and get the job. So we will not be placing you on any jobs. Okay. So what we are offering today, which is something we've never done for this fast track program, if you pay within between now and the next 24 hours, for this 12 weeks fast track plus the 4 weeks, so that actually, 12 weeks. So that's actually 16 weeks, which is, I'm not sure I'm going to defend that, but it's something we want to offer just for more people, to get this opportunity. If you pay between now and 24 hours, you get it at £450. £450 is something we've never offered before, but trust me, you will get good value for your money. But I want to also say that don't jump on it if you're not ready to put the work in. It's not, we will never paint any picture that, oh, it's easy, bring your money. No, it requires a lot of commitment. It requires hard work, resilience, consistency. And if you're ready to do that, then I will say, go ahead and sign up. So this offer is only up for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, it goes back to 597 if you pay one time. But if you pay within now and the 24 hours, you can pay 450 for the fast track, either BA. So it's not a hybrid, by the way, it's not both. So it's either one or the other. So it's either you do BA or PM. That's kind of what we are offering at this price point. So if you pay within the 24 hours, the link is there. I think it's been dropped in the chat. You can click the link and take the opportunity. The offer is on for 24 hours. And after that, it goes back to 597. If you want to spread the cost, of course, it's more. I think it's 257 times 3 if you want to spread the cost. And yes, that's all for today. Yeah, so please let me know if you can see the link. The link is in the group chat. And I wish you guys all the best. I hope that some of you will take this up. Those of you who are in the WhatsApp group will drop the link there again. And the recording will be available, I think, by Monday, because we'll need it to finish converting, and we'll send it to your emails so that you can have reference. I hope you found this useful. I hope it's helped you to at least think more, and we hope to welcome some of you who would be willing to take this. This is a no-brainer offer, something we've never done before, and we hope you take advantage of this, and we hope to see you in the academy for those of you who will be joining. So that's it. We're all done. Laide, any final words before we finish?
Well, you said it all, really. I think it's just now left to everyone to make a decision. I believe you'll be able to make informed decisions on, if you want to go for project management or BA. But from my point of view, and let me just pitch project management to you, you would never regret it. It's quite interesting, and you get to the skills that you pick up, the soft skills and the hard skills and all that you pick up is massive, and it's quite interesting, really. It's something that, at the end of the day, when you go to work and you're back home and all that, you feel really satisfied. And, in terms of the pay and in terms of what you can achieve. And you find people looking up to you, people who are, older and all that, and even younger, really looking up to you for answers. And if you're able to provide those answers, you're able to do your work, it's quite rewarding. I enjoy what I do. I don't regret not practicing law any longer. I don't think it's really good. It's
Okay, someone is saying that you have sold project management to them, and leaning towards project management. I think is that area. So who is
yeah.
joining? Who is joining? And who is coming on here? Is that Erin? She says she's leaning towards project management now. I think maybe from hearing you.
You should, honestly,
Yes,
you should.
yes.
And you get to work from home throughout last week now. This week, I didn't step out of my house. Everything, it's quite, it's really,
And it's
it
rewarding, and she's smiling to the bank every day.
this is very, and even for those of you that have got kids and all that, I've got two boys.
Yes.
It's that I'm able to drop my kids in school and
Yeah.
pick them up while I'm still working.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just carry my laptop with me and put it in the car with me, make sure it's on if I don't have any meetings. Most of my meetings, I make sure that I start meetings at 10 o'clock, and then from after I'm done, so I can pick up my kids and then probably fix any other meetings to 4 and all that. And then by 5 I'm done. That doesn't mean sometimes you don't do more than your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, but that flexibility is just there. It's there. You can manage your work with your work life and your personal life, your kids and all that. It's great. Yeah. So fingers crossed. So sign up, and then we'll see you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, have a good weekend. I hope you guys have clicked on the link, and we hope to see some of you in the academy. Thank you for joining, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.